All right. We are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm here to talk about all things professional wrestling, all the action, all the news, all the professional wrestling news. Obviously, if you guys have some takes on professional wrestling news, let me know in the chat. You guys can teach me, like I teach you guys. The teacher has become the student kind of thing. Actually, that was a pretty good accent right there. I'm actually kind of proud of myself. But not hanging up on the past. We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the legacy of the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. Dude, I love Motorhead. Kind of crazy how Triple H's favorite band was Motorhead. They had the King of Kings theme song. They also had. I personally was a huge fan of Triple H's not his Attitude Era theme. His Attitude Era esque theme song. The one song. Like I thought that was pretty badass. I love that theme song. Love the D-Generation X. Are you ready? And then also, of course, you can't beat Motorhead. Motorhead's kind of been the determining factor in terms of his professional wrestling theme songs that reign supreme. So you gotta love that. But before we move on any further, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Hit up the tips and donations link. Obviously, anything is greatly appreciated. If you can't, it's all good. Just hit up the chat. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you like. Tell me how was your weekend. Tell me what you think is going to happen at SummerSlam. What you hope is going to happen on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Or if you're a Ring of Honor fan who stumbled upon this podcast by chance. We talk about Ring of Honor as well. Also TNA, also some MLW and NWA occasionally. But yeah, anything about in terms of professional wrestling, let's do it. I'm down, 1,010%. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. We're going to talk about the game, the cerebral assassin, the king of kings, triple. Ooh, that was the perfect entrance right there. That's a badass picture of Triple H right there. I love Triple H, obviously, one of the four, along with Shawn Michaels, on my wrestling Mount Rushmore, of course. John Cena's on one, although I did hate John Cena the majority of my life, but I feel like John Cena being up there, and I'm in debate about Roman Reigns and also The Undertaker. Of course, like there's no really any right or wrong answers in terms of determining your Mount Rushmore professional wrestling. Obviously, you're going to choose whoever like you kind of grew up and you're like, dude, what are you talking about? Because for a little bit there, I was like, Bret Hart definitely should be on the, Ric Flair as well, Hulk Hogan, but times they are changing. Like I like to reiterate, like I love to talk about, you can't really compare who was the GOAT between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. It was a way different NBA back then to the point where you can beat the crap out of somebody on the court and not be caught for any fouls whatsoever. I remember, you had to be strong, like with the Hakeem Olajuwon, Gary Payton. Everybody was just beating each other out. Vlade Divac and Chris Webber on the Sacramento Kings. And then, Shaquille O'Neal. Like, it's so great. Larry Johnson with Charlotte Hornets when he was there with, no, not the Charlotte. No, I think he was on the Charlotte Hornets as well, but I think he was also on that team with the Orlando Magic who drafted Shaquille O'Neal. Don't quote me on that. Reggie Miller. I love that old school stuff. You know what I mean? Karl Malone. So, kind of like one of those things where you can't really, But enough talk about the Mount Rushmore. Let's talk about Triple H. So, Paul Michael Triple H Levesque was born in New Hampshire, July 27th, 1969. He was a professional wrestler, of course, an actor. He's had appearances on film and also television and stuff like that. He's a business executive. Something that I absolutely loved about Triple H. And I'll keep this brief. I remember watching an episode of I think it was Lip Sync or something like that, where he did the Moana How Far I'll Go, and I was like, oh, it was badass. I loved it. You gotta love it when a girl. I think he is a girl dad. I don't think he has any sons. I could be wrong. I gotta fact check that. But it just shows like how sensitive and how strong and just how cool like your dad could go out there and just be like, you know what? I have no filter. I don't give a F, bro. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna sing some songs from Disney, and I can kind of relate to that a little bit. Like it's hard not to watch Disney and get the Frozen songs stuck in your head, or hear some of them. Even old school, like when you hear about songs like from Sleeping Beauty or basically anything in terms of Disney, Aladdin, whatever. You get these songs that are just stuck in your head, but when you sing them, you can't help but to put a smile on your face. I feel like that's the reason why Disney is so prominent, so successful. 1,010%. They poke on all of our strings of rhetoric, the ethos, pathos, logos, kind of thing. So maybe that's the reason why it's so successful. That'd be pretty, damn. So now he's the CEO of WWE. He had a career. He started off in a career in 1992 to 1993, a career in International Wrestling Federation under the name Terror Rising. Made it to WCW in 1994 to 1995. In 1995, he moved on to WWF, where he was a French Canadian aristocrat, Jean Paul Levesque. Then he became Hunter Hearst Helmsley, obviously Triple H. He was part of the clique. Obviously, kind of had, a lot of people scrutinized DX because they claimed that they stole it from the NWO. But in reality, the NWO didn't really surface. You had Scott Hall, you had Kevin Nash, moved to WCW. Then you had Hulk Hogan, join the fray, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. But where do you think they got that? The shenanigans and the turmoil and just the poking at management. It was from the clique. It was from Shawn and Triple H, Paul Levesque. It was it kind of became full circle because then after that, then you had D-Generation X happen, and then Triple H moved on to Evolution with Randy Orton, Ric Flair, and Batista, and then you had that resurgence of DX from the years of 2006 to 2009, which was absolutely awesome. He won a total of 24 WWE titles, 14 world titles, WWE champion 9 times, world heavyweight champion 5 times, a 1997 King of the Ring winner, a 2002 and a 2016 Royal Rumble winner, and he was the second winner of the Grand Slam champion under his best friend, his confidant, NXT CEO Shawn Michaels. So I think that's kind of cool how they're kind of hitting that 1-2 there. Obviously, something that you have to think about in terms of Triple H was the way he met Stephanie McMahon. There was a interview with The Undertaker. I think that was revealed online that The Undertaker was one of the, closest fellow coworkers, much like you do whenever you work at any place, like fast food, school administration, basically absolutely anything. You talk to like a couple of coworkers that you trust. And you're like, you know what? I'm getting these feelings, like that. At the time he was with China. And, obviously after the split, China kind of took it a little harder, but she did kind of move on to X-Pac a little bit there. So, and then you saw Triple H, he talked to The Undertaker, and The Undertaker kind of said, like, hey, like, if you have feelings for it, don't care about the enemies that you make along the way. Just follow your heart, man. And that's what Triple H did. Eventually, the storyline that started off with Stephanie McMahon hating being married to Triple H ended up with the McMahon Helmsley era, ended up with them actually getting married and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people do think about and kind of tend to move toward like the negative aspect of what happened with China and Triple H and stuff like that. A breakup, a divorce, whatever. It's never easy. It's never easy, especially when it's one-sided. And then when you see somebody move on to like the boss's daughter and stuff like that, it could create a little turmoil, could possibly create a little bit of questions and stuff like that. But it was love. You gotta be a fan of love. But it was tough. Obviously, China took it really, really tough, had a substance abuse. She ended up, an accidental overdose and stuff like that, So it was, it's unfortunate. And China, one of the most respected women in terms of professional wrestling, obviously, 2-time Intercontinental Champion, the ninth wonder of the world. It's one of those things where like, some things could wind up looking kind of ugly, but in reality, it's the choices that people make. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, especially in terms of professional wrestling, like on Twitter and stuff like that. I read it. I was I think I was looking at a post saying that like it was like an Eddie Guerrero, China, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley kind of post, and then I saw somebody actually replied saying that China was really heartbroken. In reality, she was extremely heartbroken. She was forced to kind of do a storyline with she respected Eddie Guerrero, but at the same time, she obviously was in love with the man that she kind of came into professional wrestling with. Like she was like, they were like their rock. back and forth, you know what I mean? But the ride or die. But, of course, obviously something about time, something that a lot of people hate about time. And believe me, I'm part of that boat sometimes. That, some change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. It's crazy how things kind of unfold. Life is a mystery. Tomorrow, no, what is it? Yesterday's history. Tomorrow's a mystery, but today's a present. But today's a gift. That's what we call the present or some stuff like that. I think I read that on the back of a bumper sticker. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But no, like, I don't know. That whole thing was, kind of crazy. But moving on. So we had Triple H from about 2000, from about the year of 2000 to the end of his career. It's probably one of the biggest names. Probably the one of, he was always in the main event, the main title kind of picture in terms of the world's heavyweights and also the WWE to the very, very end. And if he wasn't wrestling, then you could bet Triple H was like, okay, now you're going to be an executive and kind of be the unfair kind of boss here, kind of have like everything kind of play to your angle because you're the boss. You're going to play into the fact that you are married to the boss's daughter and that you are next in line, where he was like, conservative Triple H, where he would go up. But then sometimes he would rebel against Vince McMahon and he'd be like, I don't agree. Like, Triple H was definitely putting a lot of, you know, guaranteed kind of opportunities and stuff like that. Obviously, not a lot of people do get that, but this guy, he doesn't drink. He trains in the off season like crazy. He takes care of his body. He goes out there and he gives everybody 110%. So if he honestly had to have like a suitor, if the suitor in terms of any businesses, usually businesses love to leave their businesses to sons, daughters, or whatever. You kind of promote within. Triple H was a superstar. He started as low as the IWF, then he went to WCW, then paid his dues before dating Stephanie McMahon. Stated Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon opened up his eyes to his potential, and favorite the nepotism. I don't know, maybe. But it's kind of hard, especially with the career Triple H did have. Even before then, if he was on any main roster and if he wasn't married to the boss's daughter, he's a talent that you can't really, take your eyes off of. I think everything that he got, it was very much, much deserved. But yeah, uh, kind of the perfect era for WWE. He recently WrestleMania 40. He ushered in like a new era of professional wrestling. He brought in the passing of the torch moment between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. You also had both nights of WrestleMania were so natural, so fresh. Wrestlers backstage, they seem happier. The lead up to the WrestleMania main event was like nothing any wrestling fan has never really seen before. And he blurred the lines between fiction and reality, which is something that not a lot of people have success doing. Actually, quite frankly, some people get called out for that and they're like, you know what? Like now it just seems too choreographed. But Triple H did it well enough to the point where, he's respected for it. Lastly, happy birthday, Triple H. Celebrating your legacy, my man. Hope that you keep kicking ass in terms of the, WWE executive and boardrooms and all that stuff. Hope you pedigree all those jerks. I'm just kidding. Moving on. So we have Bianca Belair's most embarrassing moment. We're going to move on to our fourth segment. Do not go anywhere. We're going to dive on into the subject matter. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite drink, and join me, Eric Rodriguez, your favorite wrestling fan, in about like 15 seconds.